Let me tell you what happens about 3 weeks into working a leadership team once you've got the four big collisions in your hands. You walk into a session, you watch two functions start to grind, and before they finish their second sentence, you already know the shape of it. You're reading the room. The friction in front of you tells you its shape directly before you'd ever reach for a mental catalog of 21 patterns. That moment, when the friction in the room stops feeling like a new puzzle and starts feeling familiar, even though you've never seen that exact pair before, is what this whole video is about. There are 11 more bilateral pairings beyond the four high-impact ones you've already worked: tech and finance, HR and legal, operations and finance, legal and marketing, on and on. And the first time you see that list, your stomach drops a little because it looks like 11 more things to memorize before you're competent. I want to take that fear off the table right now. You're not going to memorize them. You've already learned the only thing you need, which is the method. The rest is repetition with different formations plugged in. By the time we're done here, you'll understand why carrying the anatomy in your head beats carrying the whole catalog, and you'll see how the same four-part decomposition reads a pair you've never studied as cleanly as one you have. That's the move. One method applied as many times as the room asks for. One reframe makes the rest of the set manageable. When you sit with the four collisions you've already worked, something shifts in how the others land. The 11th pairing arrives as one thing you already know, wearing a different costume, the same structure you've worked 4 times dressed in 2 new functions. Think about what you actually carry out of Unit 4.1. You carry the anatomy. Which dimensions a collision activates, what each side is protecting, where the mismatch lives, and the surfacing question that names it for the team. That structure doesn't change when the functions change. Plug in tech and finance instead of, say, sales and engineering, and the machinery runs identically. You ask the same 4 questions, you just get different answers. So the work in front of you stops being a memorization task and becomes a recognition skill. You're training your eye to read what's in the room. This is why I tell coaches to let the catalog stay on the page. There's a reference document, the collision map, all 21 patterns on one sheet. And its job is to sit on the table before a session so you can find the pair you expect in the room. Its whole job is to live there on paper. Your head holds the method. The page holds the inventory. When you separate those two, the whole module gets lighter because you're free to read patterns instead of carrying a database in your head. That separation is the pattern worth holding on to, and everything that follows depends on it. Let me show you a slice of the wider set so the abstraction gets concrete. 5 pairings, and I want you to feel how each one already makes sense the moment you name it. Tech and finance, build versus prove. Engineering wants to ship and iterate. Finance wants the case made before the money moves. You can hear that collision already. HR and legal, advocacy versus compliance. HR is in the room for the human. Legal is in the room for the exposure. And they pull the same situation in opposite directions. Operations and finance. Reality versus model. And I'll work that one fully in a moment, because it's the cleanest teaching case in the set. Legal and marketing, caution versus boldness, which I'm going to flag as special because it carries something none of the others do. And finance and legal, control versus control, two functions that both believe they own risk, quietly circling each other. Notice what just happened. I named 5 pairings, and you didn't need me to explain any of them. You felt each collision land because you already carry the dimensions underneath them. Time horizon, what each formation protects, how identity shows up in the work. That's the proof that the method scales. 5 names, 5 recognitions, 0 memorization. And this is only a sample. The full set runs longer, all the way down past the C-suite into the layers below, which we'll touch on later. But the experience is the same every time. Name the pair, and the shape arrives. Let me work one all the way through in a single breath so you watch the anatomy do its job in real time. Reality versus model. Operations against finance. This is the one I'd hand a new coach first because it decomposes so cleanly you can almost hear it click. Start with what each side protects. Operations protects what actually happens on the ground. The trucks that run or don't run, the line that jams at 4 o'clock, the currency of things that physically work in the world. Finance protects the integrity of the model. What should happen in theory, the spreadsheet that has to hold together, the assumptions the whole plan rides on. Now the mismatch, and notice it has a clock attached to it. This collision surfaces every budget cycle, predictably on schedule. That's the moment the model's assumptions meet operational reality, and the two versions of the truth don't agree. The floor says one thing happened, the spreadsheet says another should have. And here's the part I love. Once you've named what each protects and where they meet, the surfacing question writes itself. You barely have to author it. It's something like, whose version of reality is this plan built on, the models or the floors? And what would it take to hold both? The anatomy produced that question. It came straight out of naming the protections in the meeting point. That's the whole demonstration. 4 moves, dimensions, protections, mismatch, question, and the collision is named and handed back to the team to work. You'll do this from memory on a pair you've never seen, and it'll feel exactly this clean. Now, I want to flag 2 pairings by name because they behave differently enough that a coach who doesn't expect them will read them wrong. The first is caution versus boldness, legal and marketing. What makes this one special is the size of the gap between their clocks. Every collision in this module has a time horizon dimension, but this pairing carries the widest one in the whole set. Marketing lives in the now, this campaign, this launch, this window, where the message lands while the market is paying attention. Their clock runs in weeks, sometimes days. Legal lives in a horizon that stretches years out into the lawsuit that hasn't been filed yet, the regulatory letter that arrives 18 months after the claim went live, the precedent that binds the company long after the campaign is forgotten. Those 2 clocks differ by orders of magnitude. So watch what every single marketing claim becomes when it crosses between these 2. It turns into a negotiation between resonance and risk across timescales that barely touch. Marketing asks, will this move people now? Legal asks, what does this cost us across the next 5 years? Both are right, and they're answering on clocks that don't share a unit. When you coach this pair, you surface the clock gap directly. You leave the wording of the claim alone and go straight at the horizons. You make the team see that the argument underneath the wording is really about which horizon the company is standing in. Name the horizons, and the wording conversation gets a lot more honest. The second flag pairing is the one most coaches walk straight past, and I've done it myself. Control versus control, finance and legal. This is the collision that hides. It disappears because both of these formations are prevention minded. Both are high identity, meaning the work is fused to who they believe themselves to be. And critically, both believe they own risk. Finance is sure risk is a numbers question. Legal is sure risk is an exposure question. So you have two functions, each privately convinced they're the adult in the room on the single most important thing. And they almost never fight about it out loud. That's the trap. Open conflict is loud. You can't miss it. This one is silent. What it produces instead is jurisdictional tension you have to feel for. Finance quietly builds its own risk framework and routes around legal. Legal quietly adds its own controls and routes around finance. Each works around the other, neither names it, and the room stays perfectly calm while two people slowly stop coordinating on the thing that matters most. The team looks cooperative on the surface, and underneath, the two functions most responsible for protecting the company have quietly stopped protecting it together. That is what makes this collision dangerous. It never announces itself, and a coach can sit with it for months reading the calm as health. I want to make the lesson from that second flag into a standing rule because it changes how you scan a room from now on. A quiet room can still hold a live collision. In fact, some of the most consequential ones live exclusively in the quiet. Picture it. A coach trained only to spot open conflict walks into a leadership team and runs a kind of threat scan. Where are the raised voices? Where's the visible tension? Who's interrupting whom? That scan is useful, and it'll catch the loud collisions every time, but it has a blind spot the exact size and shape of the silent pairings, the control versus control friction, the jurisdictional standoff that never raises its voice, that coaches scan returns clean. Nothing here. Functional team. And they're wrong, and they don't know they're wrong, because their instrument doesn't measure silence. The coach who knows the pattern carries a second instrument. They watch for conflict, and they also ask after it. They name a domain, risk in this case, and ask directly where the quiet disagreement lives, who owns it, where the two people circle without ever landing. You're inviting the silent collision to show itself rather than waiting for it to erupt, which it may never do. Hold this as a principle larger than these two functions. A calm surface can sit on top of a live collision. The team that never argues might be aligned, and it might just be polite while the structure grinds underneath the manners. Treat the quiet as a question that still needs answering. So this is where it leaves you, and where the ground is about to shift under the model itself. The anatomy you've been running is general by design. That's the whole point of building it as a 4-part decomposition instead of a list of cases. Because it's general, it scales to pairings you've never studied, and it keeps working below the C-suite too, down into the function-to-function collisions in the layers beneath the executive team, which we'll come back to in Module 9. One method, many pairs, many levels. That generality is what gives you reach as a coach, but every model has an assumption baked into it, and I want to name the one hiding in everything we've done so far. The bilateral model assumes peers. Two functions colliding side by side, equal footing, two points on a rim grinding against each other. That assumption has held for every pairing in this module: build versus prove, reality versus model, control versus control. All of them. Two peers, side by side. There's one formation that breaks that assumption clean in half. It doesn't collide side by side with anyone. It collides from a different position entirely, with everyone at once. And reading it as if it were peer-to-peer friction will miss what's actually happening. That's the next video. And it's worth the setup, because once you see that shape, you can't unsee it in a product-centered team. The bilateral lens is powerful, and it has an edge. We're about to walk right up to that edge. Before you move on, I have one rep for you, and it's the rep that turns recognition into a skill you actually own. So do it for real. Pull up a team in your mind and work it. Don't just nod along. Pick one pairing from the wider set that's genuinely live in a team, Reach past the 4 high-impact collisions you've already drilled into the longer list. Maybe it's reality versus model in a team where ops and finance go to war every budget cycle. Maybe it's caution versus boldness in a company where legal and marketing can't agree on a single claim. Pick the one that's actually present in a room you've watched, because live beats hypothetical every time. Now run the 4-part anatomy on it from memory. Don't open the collision map. Ask yourself the 4 questions in order. Which dimensions does this pairing activate? Time horizon, identity, what's being protected? What does each side protect specifically in this team? Where's the mismatch and when does it surface? And then draft one surfacing question you could actually say out loud to that team. Write it down. The whole point of doing it from memory is to feel how much you can read about a pair you never formally studied. And you'll be surprised how much arrives. If you happen to coach a product-centered team, sketch the wheel too, the CPO at the center, a spoke running out to each function, and mark the ones you'd watch first. Hold what you find. The next video shows you why that wheel needs its own reading.